Hello, I think many of people who following the personal audio news recently can agree with my thought that Kinera and their sister brand Queen of Audio are one of the most interesting companies on the nowadays market because they definitely have a bold lineup and constant stream of new coming releases. I reviewed Kinera's Nana and many other models. I reviewed all Queen of Audio models, Pink Lady and others, and they deliver not only good unusual sound tuning but also pretty nice designs. And I got two their models for review. It's Queen of Audio Vesper and of course Kinera's Freya. And I decided to start with Vesper. It's a more affordable model. Actually, Queen of Audio is kind of a more affordable brand for the Kinera. And more or less, because Kinera also have some affordable models, but anyway, as I understood the idea, Kinera goes to higher segment, Queen of Audio to lower segment. And it's really good two drivers hybrid in-ear monitors. So classical formula nowadays, dynamic driver and nose balanced armature. As usual, Queen of Audio models named after some cocktails. And if I remember right, Vesper is a special kind of martini that James Bond invented in the first novel by Ian Fleming, Casino Royale. And he dedicated this cocktail to his to first Bond girlfriend in the history of this series. Anyway, let's go back. If someone interested, I think it's easy to find in the Wikipedia. So, price is $70, and let's have a closer look what we've got. As you can see, package is simple, but still it's done with good style. Black cardboard with gold embossing. Looks pretty in style with the declared name. On the back side there are technical specifications, so 16 ohms of impedance and 116 decibels of sensitivity, so they are pretty sensitive. And frequency response chart, and it's not really useful, but anyway we can understand that they are tuned more to the linear style. As you can see, accent of low frequencies and treble is less than 10 decibels, and actually they sound in corresponding way. Also green sticker denoting the color of the earpieces inside. So you open it, actually, so additional booklet with more information, and inside we'll have just a case. Actually pretty nice, good textured leather. Not sure, probably it's not the real leather, but still looks and feels pretty nice. And inside there are two set of tips, so solid black ones and gray silicone ones with blue stems, so traditional tips. We've seen that a few times before. Piece of velcro, also cap covering the jack. But let's go back to the earpieces themselves. As you can see, they've selected green color as it was promised, semi-transparent shell, and nice pretty stylish face plates with interesting swirls inside. So yep, it's some kind of random pattern, so all of them looks unusual. Inside you can see the dynamic driver and the balanced armature driver, two separate spouts, so one for each driver, and connector, so you can see what's inside, and it's as usual pretty nice addition. In terms of design, it's pretty classical type of shells, fitting nicely into almost any ears, so no issues with fit. Spouts have average length, so sound isolation is also average. There is a lip for holding the tips, not really big, but still doing its job. Sorry, there is a pressure relief hole, but actually the driver flex is still present, so if you insert them in ears, do it carefully, don't avoid fast pushing, because driver flex is present and you hear this rattling sound of the dynamic driver membrane. Build quality is nice, everything is done really solidly. Here used 2-pin connectors, classical and probably the best in my opinion type of connectors for inexpensive in-ear monitors, and stock cable is also pretty good, it's even much better than you can expect for the $70. It's pretty soft, almost zero microphonics, ear hooks without memory wire, but still holding the cable around the ear as well. It's pretty soft, not getting hard when it's cold outside. Chin slider and splitter, and it goes braided down to the straight jack, so cable looks pretty attractive. As you can see, in terms of design, in terms of package, in terms of accessory set, everything is done really nicely and even better than traditionally done in this price range. And of course about the sound, I gave them about 40 hours of burn-in, but sound didn't change much. I tried both type of tips and I got the best result with solid black ones. Gray ones are a bit less resolving and a bit more muddy, at least to my ears. But of course, if you get this model, do try both type of tips and maybe even some third-party tips, because all ears are different and different tips can give you a different experience. You know, sometimes I really like to go into that hype-ish type of reviews, like, okay, this is a new giant killer, king of chi-fi, and so on and so forth. I'm trying to avoid that, but sometimes, you know, there are models that just hit your sweet spot that you prefer more than others, and it's exactly the tuning that suit my tastes really much. And it's pretty natural, really technical representation with a slight accent on the lows and on the treble to give you, you know, not too monitoring sound, but at the same time definitely not even close to being not even close to one that I can call colored. And let's have a player on the table and let's proceed with step-by-step description. So, bass is slightly accented, but accent is really small here. It's below average for the V-shaped in-ear monitors, but still lows are pretty good. They are deep, maybe they're not going to the maximum depths, but they are really deep with tight they are tight, they are impactful with a good kick. They are not trying to add more weight, they are even a bit on the drier side for the dynamic drivers, but at the same time they are pretty technical, and thanks to having a good punch, they sounding pretty well. Maybe it's not the type of tuning that is necessary for bass heads, for those who listen to a lot of electronic music or something like that, but for acoustic instruments, for some real instruments, for rock music and other genres like that, they sounding pretty well. And actually, you know, I like The Prodigy and The Antwoord and all other electronic music that I listen to with them. They are not super powerful on the low frequencies, but still have enough body. And what is more important, they have enough depth. Also, lows here are controlled pretty well. Here used some nice performing dynamic driver, and thanks to that they are not bleeding onto mids, giving a pretty coherent representation. But as an example for the low frequencies, I've got Musica Nuda, like example number 0 for me, and it's Game of Taking Chances from Banda Larga album. It starts with acoustic double bass that's sounding really impressive, and with heavy brass sounds going from different channels, from left to right and so on, and these earphones giving really nice effect of presence here. Lower mids are a bit recessed comparing to the bass, but because bass accent is really small, I can't call the mids recessed here. And also they have nice resolution thanks to some really potent balanced armature driver used here. So there is no sense of lacking mid frequencies like it's common with some other in-ear monitors. Mids are on the resolving side, a bit focused on the micro contrast, not too much, so they are not super nitpicking, but still pretty detailed, nice, clean, crisp, with good layering and so on. They're not trying to add emotions and not trying to add some weight, so better quality of records would be a good plus for them. So records should be mastered with all of that stuff is present. And on the upper mid, they starting elevating the frequency response, and it gives additional clarity, especially for the female vocals, and still nice resolution. Imaginary stage is above average in width and in depth, not by a big margin, but still noticeably above average and with good three-dimensional positioning. But of course, please keep in mind that staging is subjective thing, so I'm speaking only about my own impressions. And as an example, I got a bit unusual track, one of my most favorite tracks ever. It's Song of Myself by Nightwish from the Imaginarium album. I really like this album, and it starts with orchestral intros and with chorus, with vocals, and of course all the Nightwish band is playing here, so pretty saturated with different track is pretty saturated with different stuff, so it requires good resolution, and this earpieces give that. Of course, they're lacking, refinement, they're lacking a bit of technicality, typical for more expensive models, but still for this price tier they perform really well with this track. But of course, it could be better. And treble is slightly accented. Accent is not big, so probably no one will find them fatiguing or harsh. Well, maybe it's just some really treble sensitive persons. So, and treble extension is just slightly above average, so they decided to make a roll-off after 10 kHz, probably to make them sounding better with modern records mastered for the MP3 and so on. But up to 10 kHz, treble is pretty consistent. It's single balanced armature treble, a bit faster, a bit lightweight, so it's lacking layering, of course. Overtone saturation is basic, but still it's pretty clean, crisp, and sounding pretty natural. So don't expect some stellar audiophilic performance, but for inexpensive hybrid in-ear monitors, it's sounding really nicely, really airy, and really pleasant, at least to my ears. And as an example, I got one of the greatest ballads in the history of rock and metal music. It's Opeth and its Burden, really great masterpiece. I like it really much. And of course there is a perfect vocal with a lot of overtones going high to the treble domain, nice percussions, great instrumental part. Of course, it requires much more expensive in-ear monitors with much higher treble extension and so on, but these small earpieces are still performing pretty well. To summarize the sound part, it's almost natural and technical signature, but with slightly added lows and treble to give more musical and pleasant representation. In terms of pairing, they require some player. Of course, you can use them with smartphone, but to unveil full potential, pair them with Hibi R3 Pro, Hidis AP80 Pro, FIO M6, and maybe some even higher range dubs up to somewhere like FIO M11. Speaking about the comparisons in this price range, there are a lot of models and recently reviewed and announced and released, so I can't recall them all, but like few FH1S, it's more natural, more monitoring with less bass and a bit brighter. Few FD1, it's a bit more impactful on the bass with slightly more low accent and sharper on the treble. What else we've got? Shozy Form 1.1, for example, it's more V-shaped with more bass and warmer mids, sorry, and slightly more bright treble. And there are a lot of other models like CCA CA16. It's less resolving on the mids with more warmer mids and slightly more polite treble. Of course, I forget many other popular models, so if you need some comparisons, feel free to ask. But actually, like, this model not common in terms of tuning, because usually you'll get either something natural and bright or something more V-shaped. So bravo to Queen of Audio. Vesper appeared to be really nice model that fitting at least my subjective taste, but I think many other people will like them because this is a really good combination of technical but not completely dry and monitoring representation. Thank you for listening, thank you for attention, and have a nice day.